Appreciation Day on Saturday. What does that mean to you specifically, and what does it mean to this team?
Yeah, I think it's a great example of our community, the fact that people have donated over 10,000 tickets for service members and their families to come to a game. The game's sold out. You know, we talk all the time about being very appreciative of the opportunity we have here at Penn State. It's a special place. We spent a lot of time talking this week about being appreciative of you know, being in the United States and all the freedoms and the liberties that come with that. I asked how many guys had been outside the country and maybe on service trips and different things like that and seen and experienced different things. And when I first said that, everybody raised their hand, and I was shocked how many people have been outside the country. And then they all said, "Coach, Ireland." I was like, "Oh yeah." I wasn't really talking about that trip. But yeah, you know, we got ROTC members. I think over 150 ROTC members at practice today. Just like you guys, we only let them out the last 10 minutes because although they're here at Penn State, we're also playing Army this week. So I want to make sure we don't have anybody trying to get any information. So yeah, it's cool.
James, you said last week that, you know, in general, your theory of practice, if somebody doesn't practice, you're okay playing them. In general, does that extend to freshmen too, or only older guys?
No, I think, you know, each situation is unique and different. Obviously, if you're a senior and you've played a lot of football and you haven't practiced much that week, you could play. As a freshman, it's much harder to do that. And Chris was telling me, I guess it was a mix-up between Friday and Saturday. I guess we found out Friday afternoon that Jordan couldn't go, not Saturday. So I apologize if I was off by 24 hours.
James, Anthony's obviously taking care of some important things. Do you have any sense, though, if you'll have him back for this week, Anthony Zettel?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Anthony Zettel, do you have any sense if you'll have him back this week? Obviously, he's taking care of some very important family business, but do you expect to have him back playing?
Yeah, he's been here in practice all week long. You know, he was able to get home, you know, for the service and pay respect to his family and spend some time there. But yeah, our expectation he's going to be here with us.
Coach, you had a special visitor in practice yesterday. We saw on Twitter the girl that Carl Nassib spoke to. We know he's not camera favorable.
Friendly.
Yeah. Put it nicely. So can you take us through that? How it was having her at practice yesterday, and kind of, do you know much about her story?
Yeah, you know, most of the stuff that we do like this, it's basically the last 10 minutes of practice or something like that. But basically, I got an email from a woman who was blown away by her experience that afternoon with Carl Nassib. That she was there with her daughter at Chipotle, and Carl just happened to make conversation, and her daughter's face just lit up. And she talked about what an impact that Carl had on her son. So it was a great example for me to share with the team that small acts of kindness, a lot of times you don't even realize the impact that it has on others. And then PJ was able to reach out to the woman and say, "Hey, would you like to come by practice?" So she was able to come by and see Carl after practice, and then got a tour of the facility as well. But you know, again, for us, it's come out to the last 10 minutes of practice and get a tour of the facility, and that makes a huge impact on people. And for us, there's not a whole lot of investment. It doesn't take away from what we're doing, so why wouldn't you do it? So, you know, we talk about having a positive impact on the community and on campus and academically in every way possible. So when we can do things like that, we'd like to do it, especially with PJ in his position. That's kind of his job, so it doesn't take away from anybody else. So you just try to kind of keep emphasizing those things, but it was really cool getting to meet her, and more than anything, see the huge smile on her face and her mom's face.
You guys have moved to I couldn't hear you.
Not to give anything away, but do you plan on emphasizing presence in the box this week to keep the triple option at bay? Be that with safeties, extra help from the linebacking core. Is there anything you plan to do differently facing the triple option? Yeah,
you have a completely different game plan defensively against the option compared to any other, you know, offense that you would go against. You know, it's a completely different plan. I mean, we've done this in our past. So yeah, you have a very specific plan for this offense. You have to. That's what makes it so difficult, because it goes completely away from what you typically do.
You guys have moved the pocket around, got Christian throwing on the run, those sort of things. And he's been a guy in his career that's been able to extend plays and buy time for himself. When he does that, I guess how difficult is it for a young receiving core to kind of learn how to adapt within the framework of a play when a quarterback does that?
Yeah,
teach
Yeah, I actually think there's a lot more that goes into that than people realize. Scramble rules, and although quarterbacks and receivers spend a lot of time all summer working on that chemistry and the movement, working on the chemistry of just throwing routes together, it's different when you have to deal with pressure now and everybody working together and understand spacing on the field and how to get open. So yeah, obviously quarterbacks that do that a lot, then they build that chemistry. Guys that don't do it as much, you don't have the same type of chemistry with it. So it does take time and understanding where to work and how to work. You see all the time guys that go back away from the quarterback because they see an opening, and guys throw across their body, and bad things usually happen with that. So training guys what to do when a quarterback extends plays and moves. So
what have you seen from Jonathan Thomas this week in practice? I know you called him up from the scout team, and do you plan on utilizing him a decent amount on Saturday?
Yeah, he's number 3 right now for us. And I probably shouldn't say number 3. He's one of 3 backs that we plan on evaluating this week. And then seeing who's going to give us the best option on Saturday. And then obviously we still have the opportunity to maybe get those other 2 guys. So it's basically an evaluation process all week.
Your sack totals obviously have you ranked number 1 in the nation, but 18 of those sacks are coming in the fourth quarter. Are you happy with the pass rush that you're getting in that first half of those first 3 quarters?
No, we talked about that. That's what was great last week, to have a sack early in the game. I think we can have a bigger impact early in games. But yeah, I think whenever you're leading the country in sacks, it's hard to complain and where we're at with tackles for loss. But yeah, you'd love to see us be more dominant in the first and second quarters with the type of defensive line that I think we have.
Coach, something I noticed.
You are on fire tonight.
I'm feeling good today.
Yeah.
I had a cup of coffee. Carl Nassib has 7 sacks. Texas A&M's Myles Garrett has 6.5. But if you look at the very early Heisman rankings, Myles Garrett's generating some early Heisman love, and Carl Nassib's not. Do you have anything to say about that?
No, I would have no idea what defensive linemen are ranked in the Heisman. I have no idea. I'm worried about beating Army.
Coach, since Travis brought up Christian McAdoo's play, Trent Dilfer had some comments today on ESPN saying he's in a bad situation at Penn State. Your thoughts on those comments, and what do you think?
Yeah, it's our job to play well. A lot of people have opinions. We got to play well. We got to play well on offense. We got to play well on defense. We got to play well on special teams. We got to play well by position. So, again, I'm worried about the people in our locker room and the people in our building and people at practice every day.
Well, another comparison Dilfer had made was Hackenberg to Troy Aikman. I'm just curious, do you see that at all, or is there any other quarterback that maybe Hackenberg reminds you of in your career?
I never coached Troy Aikman. It's hard for me to compare. I mean, if you ask me about guys that I've coached in the past.
Well, I thought maybe you'd watch him on TV.
Yeah, but once again, me have an opinion about a guy I watch on TV 14 times in my life, and not at practice every single day or coach or been in the locker room with, it's hard for me. It's hard for me to get into those things. So Troy Aikman's awesome. He won a bunch of Super Bowls. I think he's in the Hall of Fame. Pretty good player.
Are there guys you've coached who Hack reminds you of?
In college, the one guy that's probably the closest to similar would be Josh Freeman. Big, strong arm, was able to make all the throws and things like that. I had Josh a little bit different because I had Josh as a recruit and as a freshman and as a sophomore. And he started for us as a freshman and did some pretty good things. But yeah, that physically and just the arm strength and things like that. I could probably make a better comparison with that compared to Troy Aikman or anybody else. But I coach those guys.
Time for 2 more.
James, this might be a little repetitive, but what does the U.S. military mean to you? And with them being there this weekend, what is that feeling like for you to be on the field? Usually, sometimes football players are geared as heroes, but there will be different heroes in the field this week.
Yeah, I'm always really careful about that because you find coaches and people make comparisons with what our military does every day, and it's not. I think obviously we try to steal things from leadership development and organizational structure and some of the things that they do in terms of training. So yeah, but in terms of the commitment and the sacrifice that these people make every day, it's not even close. And I think it's disrespectful to make comparisons of a football game compared to people that are willing to risk their life for our liberties and our freedoms.
Playing surface and game day atmosphere aside, what would you change about Beaver Stadium that would make things easier for you guys and would maybe help the team a little bit? I've got to say locker room and things like that. Just kind of curious what your thoughts are.
Yeah, you know, to me, they would be discussions in the off season. You know, again, our focus is really on Army right now and finding ways to beat Army, not about interior decorating and, you know, stadium. And I know, but my point is, that's the furthest thing from my mind right now. I get it, but you know what we need in the stadium, you know, Wi-Fi, or I mean, I don't know. I'm focused on Army. But I'd love to discuss those things in the off season. I get some couches I want in my office and stuff like that.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.